Ho ho ho, Merry Christmas. I am Bryan from Transylvania, and you have another Bible video, a special Christmas edition. You saw part one, maybe you saw part one if you watched it on Friday. I read from, I read about the birth of Christ in the Gospel of Matthew. Now I'm reading about the birth of Christ in the Gospel of Luke. Luke is the only Greek author that you find in the Bible. You could try to say, well, maybe the author of Hebrews was, but the author of Hebrews looks like he or she was pretty Jewish. Um, Hebrews is anonymous, and we don't know who wrote it. I don't know if in Romania some people think that Saint Andrew wrote Hebrews. I don't know if some people think that here. Saint Andrew is the patron saint of Romania, but that's off topic right now. We're talking about the birth of Jesus. We're talking about Luke, the author, who was a Greek doctor. He was a physician, and he was a very, very organized man. So he actually recorded his gospel as well as the book of Acts, what happens after the gospel, in a very organized, articulate fashion. So let's take a look at the beginning of chapter 2, the birth of Jesus, in the book of Luke, going through verse 1 through 7. That's what we're looking at here. The birth of Jesus. Verse 1. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius, funky name, was governing over Syria. So that would have been an important more recent historical event that we would have been making mention of. And everyone went to his own town to register. So Joseph went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. Now, it should be mentioned that being pledged and being betrothed in the Jewish culture was a lot stronger than what we would have thought of it here. If you were pledged to be married in the Jewish culture, you, not like today's Jewish culture, but back then, you would actively have to get a divorce if you wanted to separate. So there's that. Also, they didn't call each other fiance, they called each other husband and wife. So even before the marriage was consummated, they were calling each other husband and wife. So a few things to think about in regards to the relationship there. Now, where was I? David pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. She was pregnant through the Holy Spirit. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him in clothes and placed him in a manger because there was no room for them in the inn. So that's a little bit rough. You get into town, there's no room for you to stay in an inn, so you have to stay in with the animals, with your newborn son. Not easy times there. Now, God still brought glory through this. He brought in some shepherds that were there to celebrate this glorious day. Here's where we talk about the shepherds. They probably visited the same day that Jesus was born. Later, we see that the wise men enter into the picture, and I think that this is not something that all happened on the same day. I really believe that the shepherds were there the night. Then there was a variety of traditional things that happened. Mary and Joseph found a house to stay in, and that is when the wise men, as we call them, the magi. Maybe there were three, maybe there were more. There's actually different accounts to how many of these magi were there, but they would have come after the shepherds. The book of Matthew talks about the magi coming. The book of Luke talks about the shepherds coming, and they probably came the same night. What you have to do is you have to take both accounts and kind of shuffle them together like a deck of cards. That's what you get with the two gospel accounts in Luke and Matthew regarding Christ's birth. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a Merry Christmas. If you're watching this on Christmas Day, God bless you. Remember the reason for the season. Jesus came to he was born onto us, from spirit to flesh, to live a life that mirrored God's image perfectly, and beyond mirroring it, it was it. God was the image. He was God incarnate in the flesh. So he did all that so he could come and save us. This little baby boy would grow up to save everybody that believes that he paid the price for their sins on the cross. So we have a lot to be thankful for. Salvation is here for us. So that is an amazing gift. God bless and Merry Christmas.